Remember, when it comes to tires, choose Tread Central Tire Pros because we tread differently.
Select Plumbing and Utility has been serving Lincoln and the surrounding area for 14 years, and they're not slowing down. Select Plumbing and Utility handles all your plumbing needs from faucets and water heaters to full renovations, and they can even help with your heating and cooling needs. They're also Lincoln's underground experts, repairing and replacing broken underground water and sewer lines since day one. Contact Select Plumbing and Utility today at 402-560-6197, assuring excellence in every situation, opportunity, and challenge. That's 402-560-6197.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
Is your furnace ready for the cold winter? Call the pros at Bryant. No matter what make or model, Bryant will perform a thorough heating check, giving you peace of mind, or steps to ensure a warm home throughout the season. Bryant also offers free second opinion heat exchange checks. Before you spend thousands on a new furnace, let Bryant check it free. Anytime you need furnace service or repair, just call Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing, 467-1111. Bryant, whatever it takes.
Live from the heart of Lincoln, America, welcome to Ticket Weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome in to Ticket Weeknights. Harrison Arens on the ones and twos, as always. As I get the cameras all set up, you guys are welcome to join in. 402-464-5685. That is the Starter Heyman Fax line, Facebook, YouTube, X, Al, Channel 961. A little bit of change up in tonight's schedule, but after this hour, we'll be back right on track. We got the Bowlers Spare Time coming up next. Those guys will go on a pre-recording from 8 to 9 p.m. Then Chris Raff, and then we'll have another open hour. Myself, Nick Wyman, and then Ticket Late Night with Nick Wyman. First things first, though, we do got Tristan Gomez joining me to my left. Tristan, how's it going? The weather, it's above freezing today. I saw some snow melt, but how's it going on Wednesday?
Oh yeah, I mean I'm no weatherman, but it's getting better. It's getting better. It's less cold than it was last week. It's still cold, but it's been a good Wednesday.
It's probably a nightmare because you're coming from Omaha, right?
Yeah.
This time of year? That's got to be a nightmare on so many snow days for you.
Some of the snow days are kind of brutal. I don't mind when it's cold. I don't overthink that too much, but yeah, sometimes.
I remember a certain Saturday you made your trip down
Saturday, here. Yeah, I wasn't even. It was the worst Saturday ever because I think I had food poisoning, just wasn't feeling well anyway, and I was on the interstate and there was one lane and we had a snowstorm and I was like, oh, this is brutal. But usually I get here in 35 minutes, so it's not bad.
Persevered through that Saturday and the loss. But we got plenty of things to talk about. First one, Husker Hoops. I'd imagine you caught the game last night. I gave my thoughts on it plenty of times. What are your initial thoughts as the Huskers take their first loss of the year, but versus a top 3 opponent in Michigan on the road?
Yeah, I think my first thoughts from that game is if the rankings committee puts Nebraska anywhere lower than 5 after this week, I think that would just be awfully disrespectful. I think when you have a team that has 2 of their leading scorers out in Ann Arbor against the number 3 team in the country, and you lose by 3, and you've been leading for most of the game. And honestly, the only reason that game really continued to get into Michigan's hands was because of Nebraska's guys getting into foul trouble. Yeah. I think that did come from the lack of size that Nebraska, had to deal with when you have Rink out, you have Frager out, you have 2 guys that probably could have made a bigger impact guarding the bigs for Michigan. But after that game, I think it would have been really tough for Nebraska to win, especially under the circumstances with 2 guys out. But after that, I think I have more confidence in Nebraska than I did before.
Yeah, I know they moved up in the net rankings after that loss. They also, odds went up to win or make it to the Final Four. They were plus 750, and now today they're at plus 500. So ironically enough, the Nebraska's first loss is the game that gives them the national respect. You heard it. I mean, if you're just watching any sports radio shows throughout the course of the day, especially here locally, you heard it, but even nationally, now everyone's starting to talk about Nebraska as a legit contender, which again, it's a little bit ironic that it took your first loss, but you add all the elements to it. John Squire, who I know I'll mention him because he's a fan of the ticket, had a great tweet. And I think he's kind of right. Part of the reason why Nebraska got a lot of respect, you had Nebraska versus Michigan, the obvious one, and then Nebraska versus the road opponent, that is road games in the Big Ten. Then you also had Nebraska, felt like, versus the refs, and we can get into that, but also Nebraska versus Peacock because they got the graphic wrong twice.
Yeah.
Once on Frager and once on Rink Mass.
Yeah, they were showing Rink Mass. That was just not Rink Mass, and it was Leo. So, yeah.
No, and then, of course, you had Michigan alumni announcer as well, former Michigan great. So it's just like everything was stacked up for against the Huskers. And despite everything, they only lose that game by 3. And I think they led it for all but a minute and some change.
Yeah.
So to come short there, I'm not down on the odds at all. I did feel like part of it was on Nebraska. I mean, we had 6 missed layups. It felt like in that second half, along with some missed 3-point shooting. But what are your thoughts on the free throw discrepancy? It was a 23-4, which is quite the spread.
Yeah, it was interesting because even on some of Nebraska on defense, there were times where I thought that they fouled and it wasn't called. And then there were plenty that I was like, okay, that's a bit ticky-tack. I don't know if you're making up for a missed call previously or they just didn't want the game to get physical. And that's just how Nebraska plays defense. I think, they were a little undersized compared to Michigan, but I feel like they were playing just normal physical defense and the refs let Michigan get away with it a decent amount. And, there were definitely times where, Price and Sam post-game were like, we didn't understand the refereeing for a lot of the game, a lot of those calls. There was a big difference. Nebraska, though, was, I think, taking more 3-pointers. I think they were in the lane less than I think Michigan was. But the difference in free throw attempts was unbelievable. And I do think the refs did have a part of that.
Yeah, certainly. It wouldn't be so bad, but some late calls really hurt. Like the Sam Hoiberg that was a no call that I think if you call it a block or a charge based off that collision.
Yeah.
In fact, a no call, and I think you're going to call it anything. Sam, in my opinion, definitely beat him to the spot. When you have that's the play to give them the lead, and then of course everyone's going to tweet that. It just goes bad even nationally. I think most people thought Nebraska should have got a foul there. But to your point, Huskers had quite a few points in the paint. Some of it was mid-range stuff, though, or like Cale Jacobson had that one where he pulled Steve Nash. He kind of dribbled all the way around and then quick turnaround. Didn't go into the body, but floated away and made a nice little jumper about a couple of feet away there. But at the same time, I thought Michigan was getting bailed out a lot on some of those calls. Like if you're going to go both ways, Michigan at times I thought was, a little tic-tac. You could probably give a foul for Burke because maybe he had the hand on the back or, they were leaning into the body when he took the shot. Fair enough, but it's just got to be that consistency. It is, by and large, not the only reason Huskers lost, but I think it just adds to the frustration that has been officiating in the Big Ten.
You almost wonder if, it's a home game for Michigan in Ann Arbor. They're the highest rated Big Ten team currently. And the refs almost had this idea of like, all right, these are the guys that are on the pedestal in the Big Ten right now. Like if Nebraska is beating Michigan right now, then Michigan isn't doing something wrong. It's Nebraska's probably fouling, or Michigan isn't having an off night. It's Michigan should be better than this. And so we need to make them look better than this. That probably wasn't, exactly what was going through their heads, but it's almost like
subconsciously, I think that happens.
Subconsciously, it's this team should be playing better. This team should be winning.
You see it in football a lot.
Plenty. That's kind of what I was thinking. So I'm curious if, just being at Michigan, kind of a big atmosphere, the refs let it get to them a little bit. Yeah.
And of course the home crowd environment, like you always, again, it's never, in my mind, intentional, unless the gambling scandals are getting even crazier, which is always a possibility, but I doubt it in this case. I think it was just some struggling officiating. You got Ted in here also chiming in. There was a missed bad hook and hold on that charge play as well, and it certainly was. You can see it clear as day, and like that's kind of stuff that I don't think it was ever intentional, but it's just unfortunate when you have a sport that's bringing in this much money. You got universities paying all this money, like Nebraska last night, it'll be somebody else today in the Big Ten.
Yep.
And that's always my problem with officiating is like, you got to figure out some consistency with it. If you had do you see a difference between different conferences when it comes to officiating? Because I don't like picking on the Big Ten all the time, but sometimes I feel like whether it's football or basketball, when I watch some of these Big Ten officials, I'm like, we just seem worse than the SEC.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think the SEC basketball wise, I hate to say it, but it almost seems like they let them be a little bit more physical.
Yeah.
But then also along with that, I feel like in many sports, the Big Ten kind of favors the big dogs a little bit. I mean, you'll see it in plenty of Ohio State football games or things like that. Even Oregon gets favored a little bit. These are the big dogs, they should be making all the plays. If they don't make a play, then something must have happened. There must have been a penalty, must have been, a flag or a foul or something.
And then the last time Nebraska played Ohio State on the road, there's that notorious, I can't remember who broke out on the right side.
Mm-hmm.
And Ohio State was clearly just behind him with a full chokehold, it looked like. And then the ref, you can see, is just staring right at it.
Yeah, Ohio State would never.
Flag.
Yeah, and so I think the Big Ten consistently, it does feel like they're getting kind of that rep of just what are the referees doing.
It's unfortunate. I want it to be cleaned up. The SEC, I don't like giving the SEC a lot of credit, but it seems like they always do way better on the officiating side of things.
And I'd like it to be just, one way or the other, because there are some college basketball games you'll watch and you're like, all right, we have a foul every 10 seconds.
Yeah.
But then there's others where last night, it just seemed like they were flipping a coin. And a lot of times it was going, fouls on Nebraska. And it was like, can we just be consistent? Whether you don't want them to be physical, call it that way. If you're going to allow a little physicality, to play it that way.
And sometimes I thought, like, boy, that should have been a foul on Nebraska. And they didn't call it. Yeah. And then it'd be like a makeup call on the other end when there was like a ticky-tack thing. And I'm like, well.
That makes it even worse.
Are you a fan of the makeup calls?
I hate it.
It's the dumbest thing to me.
I think you almost just have to take your medicine as a ref and just say, I messed up there. I'm not going to change, how I'm calling it. Sure, I should have called that a foul, yes, but me having a makeup call is going to impact the game in a different way itself. So I'm not a fan whatsoever.
Sure. I'm not either. I don't know. It feels like refs to do that. I'm hard to press to believe that they ever actually instructed, like, hey, make a makeup call.
I think it should just be like, raise the hand, like accountability. I missed that call.
Yeah.
Going forward, I'm going to do a better job of trying to make that call. I'm not going to call a ticky-tack foul to make up for it, though.
And if you made the mistake, you're probably going to make another one.
100%.
And then you get into that whole loophole. Anything that else really stuck out from that game, whether it was players, coaches, or Michigan? For me, obviously, I kind of mentioned already, but Cale Jacobson, he didn't necessarily light up the box score, but he once again just looked like really comfortable.
Yeah.
And not like the moment has not been too big for Cale Jacobson once this entire season. And again, he didn't light up the box score, but he was really efficient. And then Leo Curtis, that's a tough game. Your first Big Ten game to really get some minutes in. And he actually did pretty well. I mean, Michigan, and back to the free throws, they are really good at getting to the free throw line and punishing other bigs and getting them in foul trouble. Leo Curtis actually did a really good job, I thought, especially in that first half. And, didn't have any moments where he was just totally getting dominated by that towering lineup that Michigan had.
Yeah, I don't think you expected Leo to even get in that game. I don't think he expected it until we found out that Rink was out.
Yeah.
Looking at it now, it would have been nice if Leo maybe got a few more minutes in some other games to get a little confidence regarding some Big Ten big men, and also giving him the ball, because his first buckets in the Big Ten came last night.
Yeah.
And so I think he would have been, held his ground and did a good job. I think he probably could have done a better job if he had some more minutes in the Big Ten and a little bit more playing time just to get his feet wet. But yeah, for him stepping up like that, I was super impressed. And there were a few, like his left hooks, he made 2 of them. And
I know.
Like,
nice little
what
hook
is
there.
this? Yeah, at first I was like, what is this shot? Oh, there we go. So
you put Rink Maston and Leo Curtis together. You got 2 dominant hooks. You got the left going with Leo and the right going with Rink.
Exactly. Yeah. So definitely a lot that could have been different in that game with Rink, but I think Leo did a good job holding his ground.
Yeah, I mean, he's still not clearly got the frame.
Yeah.
So I was just kind of impressed, like his ability not to get shoved around. Like at least he was fine. He didn't look scared, which is kind of the thing I'm looking at. And, I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but that's a tough road place to play. And you got a lot of pressure. You're undefeated. It's a top 5 matchup. But no, he looks all out there. And then everybody else just stepping up there. Jamarcus Lawrence, nuclear in that first stretch. The only part where, in that second half where we really just cooled off offensively, some of it, I think you look at our starters, they all played like 35 plus minutes. I think the legs got out from underneath them a little bit. The other part is, would you like to see them go downhill more and maybe try to get more free throws or keep taking some of those threes? Because it's not like the threes were bad shots. They were open. They just weren't going down.
Yeah, I think when they just weren't going down, there could have been a little shift of, all right, let's get downhill. Let's try to get in the paint. I understand that they're big, but if the refs are going to be calling these fouls, we have a case that if we get to the rim and we force some contact, we can get to the free throw line at 2. I think the toughest part, though, was the entire game. If Nebraska did make 2 or 3 or 4 of those threes in the second half, like they're in so much control of this ball game.
Yeah.
So they were open shots. They've been unreal from beyond the arc so far this year. You have those open looks, if I knock this down, this is a huge momentum swing. But I think when they did slowly, not start to fall, it seemed like the whole offense was hoping they were going to fall instead of, all right, can we get to the rim a little bit?
Yeah, and I heard a couple thoughts on this. Like, I definitely get the idea, like, hey, your shots aren't going in. You should go downhill. We were definitely undersized last night. They're top 10 in blocks. I don't want to attack the big and just throw up a prayer. And if you have a matchup or a really good angle that you like, sure, great. But their defense was really good. I didn't think we had a whole lot of really great angles to totally get them off guard and really go for a foul. And, that's where, to your point, normally that's within the offense. And if they knock down a couple of those again, like just two, not even a majority of them, because I don't think they scored for like the last 3 minutes of that game. Knock down one, you go in an overtime. You knock down two, you win the game by 3. And if you play to your normal, you knock down a couple more, then you win the game probably pretty convincingly. So, I don't think they really need to tweak the offense at all. I thought that's what Michigan was giving them. They just weren't knocking them down. And again, I think once you get everybody back and healthy, you'll have those legs underneath.
Yeah, I mean, you could tell that they were kind of getting just a little bit tired, and understandably so. I mean, just looking at it now, Price played 39, Sam 39, Jamarcus 35.
And Sam had a flu game. He played 39 minutes on a flu game.
Yeah, and so when you have...
Or a cold game. I'm not sure which one it was.
Kale 27. So, like, your starters were in the game. They didn't get much of a break. And so you think you add 2 other guys that are not only great on the defensive end, but they're also scoring in Frager and Rank. Like, that makes a huge difference. So, I mean, like we said at the beginning of the show, and the rest of the country feels the same way. They're more confident in the Spurs now than prior to that game, even after a loss.
Yeah, and then with Braden Frager, with everyone who wanted the Huskers to go downhill more, that's probably one of our best downhill players, where he's one of our more athletic guys out there, and he's got really great touch around the rim. And without him, you certainly saw the difference. And Rank Mast, I mean, he's just not the most athletic, but he's a solid body in there. He's not a guy that you can easily just shove around. With that being said, though, up next, the Huskers get another top 10 opponent. They got number 9 Illinois at home. That one is on the first. What is the first? Is that a Sunday or a Saturday? That is Sunday, 3 p.m. The Fighting Illini. We get to host them. Obviously, hoping a little bit of revenge for Illinois, but on Nebraska's end, it starts up. These next 3 games here. If you count Michigan, these last 4, you're going to have Purdue, who dropped down to number 12, but also a really good opponent after Rutgers. But looking at Illinois first, what are you seeing in this Illinois matchup? Obviously, we beat them on the road last time. It came close. Illinois did a really good job on the glass, getting to the free throw line, almost stole it back. Excuse me. But the Huskers persisted and won.
Yeah, I mean, this is a game that I think Nebraska is really going to have to lock in for, especially Illinois is playing unbelievably well right now. I mean, they have only 1 loss in the Big Ten, and it is to Nebraska. They probably want to get a little bit of revenge, get a little get back. So I think the vault is going to be exploding, though. Like, it is going to be an unbelievable environment. And Nebraska, after that loss to Michigan, I just loved the way that, Price and Sam and Coach Hoiberg just kind of held their ground in that press conference and just said, there's no moral victories. We got to find a way to win. And they lost to Michigan on the road to the number 3 team in the country. And their first thought was, we should have won that game. And
which is a crazy mindset, which is great to have.
And so when Illinois comes to town, I think it's, we beat you once in your gym. There's no shot that you come to our gym and think you're going to beat us. So I'm feeling confident. This is a tough stretch, though. And I think if Nebraska, they win out on these next 3 games, they're set up for success going into the Big Ten tournament.
Yeah. Obviously, the guy to watch out for is you just don't want to let Wagler. He was the guy for Illinois. He dropped 46. He was in that Purdue game where they won 88-82, and Illinois did it on the road. He was 13 for 17. He was also 11 from 13 from the free throw line. I want to see. What did he do from 3? He shot 81% from 3 in that game. Was absolutely on a scorcher. And he's just a guy that you got to watch out for, because if he gets hot in that one, obviously we're in quite a bit of trouble here. I want to figure out how many. He was 9 for 11. So he took 11 threes and he only missed 2 of them. If you let anybody get 46 points, you're probably looking at a really, really tough, gutsy win, or you're going to get blown out of the water. That's my fear for Illinois. Is their offense is just clicking right now. To your point, they've been on fire, especially since Nebraska gave them that loss. It kind of felt like a little bit of a kickstart for those guys. And they've been on an absolute tear as last time. I think the biggest thing, again, is what worries me is we're going to allow Nebraska's defense gives you the 3.
Mm-hmm.
Wagler scares me a little bit because he was knocking down. I mean, some of them were really tough contested threes, and Nebraska does a good job contesting threes, but it's still a shot we'll give you. That's my number one fear is if Wagler or that rest team, if they keep up this hot shooting, I don't know what that means for Nebraska. We've busted out a zone, but you don't really like that against some good 3-point shooting either. That's my fear. What are kind of some of your worries or just at least keys to victory for the Huskers?
I think keys to victory are, just not letting him get in a rhythm. I mean, it's kind of probably what Illinois is thinking when they come here and have to stop Price. When Price had 26 in the first half against them, their game plan going in is, all right, we're not going to let that happen. We're not going to let Wagler do the same thing. So I'm curious if Nebraska does go, they put Kale on him or they put Sam on him and just say, hawk him down. Don't let him get any open shots. Don't let him get comfortable. He's probably going to knock a few down. It's just don't let him get into a rhythm. So I think if they can find a way to stop the hot hand for Illinois right now, Illinois is going to have to adjust their game plan as well. So I think that's the best thing that Nebraska can do is just don't let their guys get hot and, continue to play the offense we play. And having Rink back is going to be tremendous. And, hopefully Frager can continue to rehab. I don't think they should rush him back, but I think Nebraska's feeling pretty confident in this one. Yeah,
and you got to stop Stojakovic as well. He was that he almost looks Italian. I don't know what he is, but, he was a really great player. Just, I don't know how he's such a great rim finisher. He's kind of unorthodox, but he was giving us just a ton of problems late in that game, and that kind of started the run for Illinois to get a lot of easy points in the paint, and then if they missed it, they're getting offensive rebounds, getting to the free throw line a lot, and that's how they got back before you knew it. It'll be an interesting one. Illinois, I think they're certainly a lot better than we saw them last time, but on the bright side, I think so is Husker basketball. I mean, these guys, despite the loss, you're down 2 starters. You got some illnesses going on. One of your guys who's playing, who's sick, plays for 39 minutes and actually has a pretty good game on top of it. So a lot on the line. And then, of course, they get Rutgers, which you should feel pretty good. It's on the road. And then it's Purdue. And Purdue's been backsliding a little bit. When you look at that stretch of Michigan, Illinois, and Purdue, which one am I missing here? Is there a 4th ranked opponent that I just skipped over?
I think that's all the ranked ones in there.
I think you might be right. Illinois. I just lost it completely. Well, within that stretch, I think realistically, if you can win 2 out of those 3, most Husker fans were going to feel good.
100%.
Because you got 2 top 10 ranked opponents. Purdue was a top 10 ranked opponent until their loss to Illinois. Almost likely would have been 3 within a 4-game stretch. And we saw kind of nationally how people looked at Nebraska after the loss. If they keep going out there and playing pretty well, they moved up in the net rankings. Again, if you can win these next 2, even if you just split them, I don't like Nebraska's in such a good spot already with how much schedule's remaining that they're kind of a lock-in for the tournament. It's just a matter of how highly they'll be seeded. With that being said, we also got the Husker football schedule. We'll see if Tristan sticks around or if he's going to get out of here, but I'll be here. Nonetheless, don't go anywhere. And this is, again, Take a Weeknights, Harrison Arens, Tristan Gomez. We'll talk to you in a bit.
Are you looking for an exciting new way to put your skills to work? Explore new career options in the fintech industry at Currency, a Sandhills global company. We offer full-time positions in financial sales, compliance, operations, and other fields. We also offer a 4.5-day work week, an attractive benefits package, and opportunities for advancement. Put your motivation to work and grow with us at Currency. Visit gocurrency.com/careers to learn more. The 2026 Love Nebraska season is underway, and professional volleyball is back in a big way. From powerful serves to game-changing rallies, every match brings elite competition to the court. See some of the game's top athletes, including Lexi Rodriguez and Jordan Larson, compete right here in Nebraska. Whether you're a longtime fan or new to the sport, there's a match for you this season. Explore the full schedule and plan your night out at lovbneb.com/schedule.
Change begins with you. Join a weight loss medication study at Solarion and earn cash in the process. If you are 19 to 65 years old with excess weight to lose, you may qualify. Participants could earn up to $22,750 for their time. Study includes 1 2-night stay, 1 3-night stay, and 38 returns. Learn more at helpresearch.com/flamingo or call 866-213-2965. Weight loss not guaranteed.
In a world where Wi-Fi battles rage and bandwidth is never enough, one family dares to connect it all. Work from home, influence all day, stream all night, and game to win Deadlines, downloads, and dance-offs, all happening under one roof, flawlessly. Can your internet provider do that? Fiber fuel your household at allofiber.com/all-in.
Let's fly. Your next trip starts at Lincoln Airport with American Airlines. Now flying nonstop service to Dallas, Fort Worth, and Chicago. American Airlines connects Lincoln to major hubs and destinations around the globe. Wherever you're headed, LNK gets you there with new nonstop flights on American Airlines.
Now boarding.
Convenient, fast, and stress-free. Book your next flight at LincolnAirport.com. LNK, make flying easy.
Are you ready for a new opportunity? Check out Sandhills Global. Join a dynamic team where your skills are valued and your career can soar. We offer full-time positions with a 4.5-day work week, competitive pay, excellent benefits, and a positive work environment. From IT and marketing to sales and finance, we're looking for talented individuals like you. Apply today at sandhills.jobs and take the first step towards an exciting future. That's sandhills.jobs. Don't wait. Apply now.
Hi, Charlie Stone here, and joining me is Andy Goodyear with Honda of Lincoln. Before I bring Andy on, we want to wish you joy, success, and good health in 2026. Andy, are you there?
Yes, I am, Charlie. And by the way, that was well said.
Andy, I know you want to kick off 2026 with a bang. What's going on at the dealership?
We got a lot going on here, Charlie. We have incredible savings on every new remaining 2025, New Year's savings on every new 2026, special low long-term financing, and special lease rates. The biggest news is we have more than 400 new 2025 and 2026 Hondas to choose from.
How about pre-owned?
We have over 125 pre-owned and certified pre-owned Hondas right now with prices starting at under $10,000, and we have special low rates.
Well, maybe it's time you experience the best. The Honda of Lincoln way of doing business. 27th and Yankee Hill Road, or online at hondaoflincoln.com.
Big box stores are tempting for buying equipment for your high schooler in sports or for yourself in your sports leisures. But buying new is awfully expensive. Why not go somewhere with new and used options? Play It Against Sports is quality, slightly to gently used equipment, and 50% of their inventory is actually new equipment. And it's more than baseball, softball, and golf. They also have equipment for disc golf, fitness, hockey, and more. Plus, they're always buying products. Bring your gear you're done with and get trade money on the spot. Play It Against Sports at 48th and Vine.
Landmark Implement, your local John Deere dealer, invites you to the Spring Equipment and Technology Clinic, February 3rd through the 5th at the Buffalo County Fairgrounds in Kearney. New this year, the planter and sprayer clinics are combined into one streamlined, hands-on event built around growers' time and needs. Get expert training on John Deere planters and sprayers on topics including maintenance, technology, and autonomy. Don't miss it. February 3rd through the 5th in Kearney. Visit landmarkimp.com/events for details.
Mike, the insurance company wants us to replace the roof.
Wait, what? I thought everything was fine.
Yeah, it says right here our roof is too old and they won't be able to cover us anymore.
I guess it is 15 years old. Hi, I'm Austin with Roofing Service Company. We help homeowners with their roofing and siding projects. Financing options are available, and we can get you under a new roof no time at all. If this sounds like you, visit roofingservicecompany.com. That is roofingservicecompany.com.
This is Bill Mitchner, Executive Director of Lincoln Lighthouse. Did you know Lighthouse provides multiple programs for students such as one-on-one tutoring and mentoring, as well as pro-social skill exercises, while providing them a nourishing meal and a safe space during all months of the year, even during school breaks? Learn more or contribute to Lighthouse at lincolnlighthouse.org today.
To the Ticket Weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome back in. Ticket Weeknights. Harrison Arens still on the ones and twos, then we'll be all the way to at the very least 11, and then Nick Wyman, he'll take over for late night in Lincoln. And, of course, we will have the Husker Bowlers in about half an hour. It is the pre-recorded segment, but they were in just earlier yesterday, so still pretty fresh and recent. As those guys are currently traveling, they have to hit the road. As Husker Bowling, they're out here competing this weekend. So obviously we'll certainly talk about the results of that when they're back for their shows next week. But in the meantime, we also have the Husker football schedule get dropped, at least the order. Obviously for a lot of these, there's no times yet or anything, but we do have the official order. And we've talked about this on why this is a big season for Nebraska, in particular, a big off season, is it's not going to get any easier. I don't like, talking about teams and building them into monsters before we even know what they look like. But you can at least know some continuity with some of these programs, whether it's the coaches, quarterbacks, or even if you're looking at the portal and saying like they didn't really have a whole lot of guys leave. There are some known factors that we will see be coming back. It'll be a tough one for the Huskers. And you guys give me your thoughts. I'm not going to give a prediction on the season because it's just way too far out. We'll see how Jeep Wade works for the new offensive line coach, Corey Brown for that new defensive line coach. And then, of course, you got an Orich, the San Diego State defensive coordinator. How's he going to fit and plug into this program? You're going to fill the void that was Mike Eckler. What his special teams now look like? There's a lot of pieces to figure out. And, Matt Rule, does he change the way he's operating, or does he continue to double down and just trust the process that he's done in other stops? So, again, I'm not going to give a prediction, but we can go through the teams and the order. So it starts off with, obviously, you get your 3 home games before you get to Big Ten play. Saturday, September 15th. Oh, I'm not going to say Saturday. These are all Saturdays, except for the Black Friday game. Yeah, we only have all Saturday games, which is kind of nice, where you get to avoid some of those awkward Friday slates. But starts off with Ohio. And then, of course, we move on. You get Bowling Green next. Not a team that you want to take lightly, as they push some teams in years prior in the non-conference schedule. And then you get North Dakota, which isn't necessarily a team you want to scoff at either. I mean, we've seen it in years when this team wasn't ready, whether it was Georgia Southern that we've taken a loss to, or Troy, or Northern Illinois. We've seen Notre Dame lose to Northern Illinois, and then Marshall back-to-back years. And that was the same Notre Dame team that was poised to go make a college football playoff run. So you don't want to overlook these teams. And I think Bowling Green and North Dakota, at the very least, deserve a lot of attention of Husker football. And I think they'll get that attention, especially that North Dakota team. They're willing to give people a run for their money if you do not take them seriously. So, again, that is your first 3 non-cons. September 5th, 12th, 19th, you got Ohio, Bowling Green, and North Dakota. The first road game and also your opener to Big Ten play could be interesting. You get Michigan State into East Lansing, Michigan. They have a new head coach, Fitzgerald. We'll see how Pat Fitzgerald runs that program. A little bit of changeover. Maybe you like your odds because it is year one of trying to get a team in Michigan State who may be a little bit down. I'm not really sure what their offense is going to look like. Probably pretty similar to how Northwestern operated when he was up there coaching the Wildcats. So it's a tough opener heading to the Woodshed or East Lansing, Michigan State. But I think it's a very good head coach. But again, this is a program that I feel like is really looking for some momentum. And it's a tough one to potentially lose that first one on the road. Who I think Pat Fitzgerald, that was a home run hire. I don't know if it's going to take off in year one. That's why maybe you feel okay about it. But I think it will certainly take off in a few years later. He seems like he'd be a good fit. The recruiting rounds are going to be wildly different than what he's used to. It could be a problem. Maybe as fast as year one, like Kurt Cignetti was at Indiana, or maybe it does take a little bit, like Matt Rule and Husker football seems to be more in that longer development route. Then you get Maryland. That one is at home. So you like your chances there. We'll see what they look like. I'm not going to talk too much about them because there's still pieces moving there. But then this is where the stretch gets really tough in a hurry. So at this point, we are only 5 games into the schedule. And if you imagine you beat your non-conference games, you're sitting there at 3-0. If you think you got, odds versus Michigan State, Maryland, who, again, I think you can make an argument that those are coin tosses, but let's just say you like it. You're maybe looking at 5-0. Then you get Indiana. You get them at home at the very least, but you do have to play Indiana on October 10th after Maryland at home. Not going to call it a loss or a win. You guys can make up your mind. Then you have to go on the road after that with no bye in between and go play the Eugene, Oregon Ducks. So you tackle Indiana at home, then Oregon on the road. Then you get another home game versus Washington Huskies, October 31st. And then you hit a 2 road game stint one being at Illinois. That is November 7th. And then you follow that up with another road game in Piscataway. We have Rutgers. And then you got another gauntlet to finish out the year. Ohio State at home. Now, Iowa, of course, on the road. And that's no surprise there that Iowa, the last Black Friday game. But you're looking at here, and if we just look at the records of last season, which I think will be the best thing to do, if everything was the same as it was last year, this is a tough schedule for Nebraska. Maybe some of these teams slip, and that's always a possibility, but we'll go through it. So last year in the Big Ten, Michigan State, again, they make the new coaching hire, and they're bringing in Fitzgerald. Last year, because they in conference play, they were 1 of 8. Good thing the Huskers took care of that one. That was one of the worst Big Ten opponents as the year went on. Nebraska was able to take advantage, beat those guys, start off some really great special teams plays that certainly helped out. And then, of course, I thought with Aiden Childs, they should have pulled him out. I think they were in a better position with their backup, just the way Aiden Childs looked uncomfortable. Maybe he was hurting out there for a little bit. But nonetheless, they were sitting there with a 4-8 overall record. They didn't go bowling, 1-8 overall. Then you get Maryland. It was also 1-8 in conference play last year. And was also 4-8 in overall play. So those first 2 Big Ten games, you like the idea. Again, if everything stays consistent, some of these teams are going to fall and rise, but at least they're not at the levels that probably Iowa or Ohio State may be in. You maybe feel good about that start. But then it switches up to Indiana. Obviously, with Indiana, we know they went undefeated. That is your national champ. And then you go to Oregon, who I think only had a couple losses. Yeah, they were 13-2 on the year, 8-1 overall. So that is your third team in the Big Ten based off the standings. Then you get Washington, who I think is a sneaky good team. They did win 9 games last year, I believe. Yeah, they were 9-4 last year, 5-4 in Big Ten conference play. So you got 1, 2, 3 teams above 500. One of them being undefeated in your national champ. The next in Oregon on the road, only having 2 losses last year. And then Washington, at least you do get them at home. That's October 31st. I always just think it's a good program. I thought last year, maybe a little bit underrated, but they actually ended up finishing right in the middle. So maybe everyone was right. But, we talk about Nebraska football. We're kind of in that middle tier of Big Ten teams. I mean, last year we were 4-5 in conference play, and of course 7-6 overall. That's going to be the problem, is until we start consistently beating these middle of the pack Big Ten teams, you can't circle any of these. And that's why I don't want to get the prediction game and try to figure out what Nebraska's record will be, because there's a good chance that, we beat Michigan State last year, but it's not like we were dominating the way in Ohio State or in Oregon or even Penn State last year. I thought Penn State was good. I thought they made a huge mistake letting go James Franklin, but we'll see what they look like. And then same thing with Maryland. We've played Maryland before. We don't necessarily blow them out of the water when we do play them. Indiana, we know what they are. Oregon, we know they're probably going to be pretty good. You got Dan Lanning. Dante Moore is coming back. Dylan Raiola, obviously an Oregon Duck now. He won't have to hear any of the fanfare because he will be at home in Oregon. And then Washington, middle of the pack, Big Ten team. And those are the teams that Nebraska needs to start beating. I don't think we need to go out there next year and beat Indiana and then follow it up and go beat Oregon on the road. You need to beat Michigan State, Maryland, and then go take down Rutgers and Illinois and Washington. Maybe not even Illinois, but can you get Washington? Can you get Rutgers? Can you get the teams in the middle of the conference that you are outspending by a lot in most categories, not just like NIL, but the amount of investment you put in your facilities, the amount of investment that you put out there just selling the program to get recruits' eyes on it. You're doing that at a really high level, and a level that's more so than a school like Maryland or a school like, I don't want to do it. Washington does a pretty good job repping their program, but a school like Rutgers, certainly. And even Michigan State, more probably known as a basketball school. But if you just look at the amount of money Nebraska spends, okay, everything says you're putting a lot more resources into this program than these other schools in the kind of middle of the Big Ten. We should be able to catch up and beat these guys consistently. And we've just gone year after year of not ever being able to really consistently take down these middle of the pack Big Ten opponents. So again, you just don't want to circle these wins. And then, as I mentioned, Rutgers, what was Rutgers last year? I think they were towards the bottom back. Yeah, 2-7 in the conference play, 5-7 overall. And then Ohio State, we know the story on those guys. And of course, the Iowa Hawkeyes, we know the story on those guys as well. I don't know what you guys would put in there for a win-loss total, other than I'd imagine most people are feeling a little bit more nervous for this season than when we all were looking at last year's schedule. Some of these teams are going to change, but like I said, some of them do have quite a bit of continuity coming back, and we'll know what we'll get. They've for Nebraska, that can save them a lot. Just throw the record out the window for now. Go beat Iowa. It seems like such a silly thing that shouldn't mean a whole lot, but we know what it means in that Ohio State-Michigan rivalry. People want to fire Ryan Day simply because he couldn't go take down Michigan. In those games, maybe the value gets overestimated, but they certainly matter. And it really starts to matter if it's been year after year after year, and especially if it's going to be your last regular season game. And I think that's where the sting really comes from, because Iowa has not only really dominated Husker football through most of its era in the Big Ten, but they've also been the team to stiff arm Nebraska out of a lot of bowl game opportunities. And if we ever get to the point where, if Nebraska starts winning and they have a really good record heading into it, in that last game versus Iowa, they're sitting there with 9 wins already. We still got to figure out how to beat Iowa. We just haven't been able to do it. And that Iowa win means so much. It's not to be undervalued. And it does hurt a program quite a bit when not only do you lose to your rival, you let them humiliate you and do it at your place. Memorial Stadium has to be a tough place to play, and unfortunately, it's just not. Iowa just looks comfortable. Every time they seem to play in Nebraska, they don't seem scared of the moment. You can make the argument that it was probably a better Iowa team than most people anticipated. Their offense was good. Go ask Vanderbilt. I know Diego Pavia was kind of cracking some jokes. You only need to score 14 points to win that game. Well, you guys need to score a lot more than 14 to go beat Iowa, because I think they dropped like 40 points. So a much better Iowa team than people probably anticipated, at least in terms of offensively. It does not give you the right to go get blown out, though. And especially when you're losing year in, year out. I mean, that is such a momentum killer. And then you have, of course, had the opportunity in the bowl game. You get a top-ranked Utah, 15-ranked Utah. I don't know how many people feel great about heading into it. I certainly didn't. We had a lot of staff changes. We had Emma Johnson going to the draft. Some players hitting the portal. I was looking for a fight, a valiant effort. And I thought the guys were fighting well. I couldn't tell you what happened, because after the first couple of drives there, Utah's trenches just completely took over. So whether that was an X's and O's, getting used to the coaches, I'm not going to totally just drill them for that loss, because I think Utah was a really, really good team, probably even higher than 15 in the country. And I was nervous about that one heading in, whether it was LSU in another bowl game, or if it was going to be Utah in the Las Vegas Bowl. I didn't want to play Utah. And then, of course, we saw the result. From text line here, we got James and Lincoln. Oh, yeah. Shout out James and Lincoln. He thought I was talking about the basketball schedule. And no, if I was talking about the basketball schedule, I agree. We would win probably most of them. James and Lincoln, I don't know what your thoughts are on winning all those games in the football schedule. I mean, the goal for me is just look better. And to look better doesn't necessarily mean you have a better record. But in that Iowa game, can you look more competitive? When you go play Ohio State, you have them at home. If they give you an opportunity to go pull away and win the game, can you finally have the confidence and the swagger to go do the damn thing? It kind of happened with USC this year. You have a blackout. It feels like all the tides are sitting in your favor to pull something off. Dylan Raiola goes down, which is a huge bummer. But I don't like the idea of like, well, he went down, we can't win the game now. TJ Lateef goes out there. Again, I get it. He's a younger player, but you got to have some sort of backup plan that you feel comfortable in, especially in a game like that where you feel like you can get the crowd on your side and really start taking over. And, of course, USC finds a way to win that one. We just have that too many times where you got to have some statement wins. We just haven't really had any quite yet. And then, of course, the Iowa game is just going to drive people nuts. I mean, we almost hired Mickey Joseph. And people still love Bill Bush. I know it because he's on early break. People give him his flowers all the time because they beat Iowa. It's funny. The last 2 times Nebraska beat Iowa, by the way, interim coaches, because the head coach got fired, which, makes sense of that, what you will. But all that to say, again, like Mickey Joseph, with everything being said, I don't want to get into all the details of why. Shout out to him, though. He's on Grambling State now. Hopefully he can get that program going. People are ready to hire him because he beat Iowa. And of course, I think they beat Rutgers. I think they had a couple back-to-back Big Ten game wins. But that stuff means a lot, picking up momentum towards the end of the year. James and Lincoln says 8 when talking about that football schedule. Feels like we have a whole new coaching staff, so I don't really know what to expect. I'd love it if they got 8. I'm with you. Give me 8. Give me just production. I'm not so glued into the numbers. Like, can you guys just look better? Because this schedule has a really good chance of being one of the tougher schedules Nebraska's faced in a long time. Or, we've had weird years where teams fizzle out. Maybe it somehow becomes a very easy, manageable schedule. At the end of the day, it's got to look a certain way, and it's got to go past November. Because that's kind of the interesting comment that you hear a lot now is, what do you think about Husker football? It's not even ask me in fall. It's like, ask me in November, when we get to out of October, and we can really see what this team looks like in that later stretch of the season. That's my 2 cents on it. If you guys want to chime in, you can feel free to 402-464-5685. I'll get to those on the last segment. Don't go anywhere. Harrison Arens going solo. Take Weeknights. Talk a little bit of Husker football there. We'll keep going on the other side.
Ticket listeners know a dream team when they see one. At Applied Connective, we've been in the game for 20 years and have developed a team of world-class leaders in all things IT. From cybersecurity and Microsoft products to physical security, audio-video, infrastructure, business phone systems, and anything in between. We'll help you leverage technology to become your most secure, efficient, and profitable. Head to our website to check out real reviews and testimonials and sign up for a free tech consultation. We can show you where you might be vulnerable, inefficient, or overspending. It's a game changer, and it's totally free. Claim yours right now at appliedconnective.com.
Want to make the easy call? Call John Henry's. From leaky pipes to a broken AC, flickering lights to furnace fights, even drains and duct cleaning, we've got it handled. Plumbing, heating, air, and electrical, all under one trusted roof. Proudly serving homes across Lincoln, Omaha, and surrounding areas, and ready 24/7. Visit calljh.com or call John Henry's.
435-5555. John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air,
and Electrical.
There are so many realtors in Lincoln and Omaha, but don't get overwhelmed by all the no-names, plus all the different companies. Ben Bleicher with Professional Realty Group at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Real Estate is your go-to option, whether buying or selling residential, luxury, leasing, investment properties, or commercial property, small or large. Ben's team offers decades of experience, unbeatable customer service, and promises to fully protect your interests throughout the entire transaction. Call 402-419-6309 for all your real estate needs. Ben Bleicher with Professional Realty Group of BHHS Ambassador Real Estate.
What does it mean to be rich? Maybe it's less about reaching a magic number and more about discovering the magic in life. I'm Ryan Buck, your Lincoln, Nebraska, Edward Jones financial advisor. Count on me for your financial strategies that can help support a life you love. Because the key to being rich is knowing what counts. Contact me today at 402-483-0377. Again, that's 402-483-0377. And let's find you rich. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Nutrition Authority presents Fusion 30, an ultra premium protein ideal for anyone wanting to look, feel, and perform their best. Fusion 30 can only be found at Nutrition Authority. Stop in today for a free sample, visit with a certified nutritionist, and get better than internet pricing. For store info, visit mynutritionauthority.com.
Tune in to Outside the Box from 4 to 5 p.m. for everything you need to know about the Lincoln Stars. Join head coach Rocky Russo and play-by-play voice Alex Fern as they sit down with special player guests to tell the story of the Lincoln Stars and give you all the news and notes you need from around the USHL. That's Outside the Box with the Lincoln Stars on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. At DWE Generations, having a plan matters, especially when it comes to protecting what's most important. They work with individuals, families, and business owners to help make smart financial decisions that support life today and set the foundation for generations. David Darlington, Russell Walton, and Cody Eiler bring decades of experience, and their dedicated team provides follow-through, answering questions, explaining next steps, and staying connected as life evolves. DWE Generations, a generational wealth planning firm. DWE Generations is a marketing name for individuals doing business as representatives of Northwestern Mutual. Visit generations.nm.com or call 402-483-7871 and ask for David, Russell, or Cody.
Is your furnace ready for winter? Call Bryant to perform a thorough check for comfort and peace of mind. 467-1111. Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing. Whatever it takes.
Select Plumbing and Utility has been serving Lincoln and the surrounding area for 14 years, and they're not slowing down. Select Plumbing and Utility handles all your plumbing needs from faucets and water heaters to full renovations, and they can even help with your heating and cooling needs. They're also Lincoln's underground experts, repairing and replacing broken underground water and sewer lines since day one. Contact Select Plumbing and Utility today at 402-560-6197, assuring excellence in every situation, opportunity, and challenge. That's 402-560-6197. Big box stores are tempting for buying equipment for your high schooler in sports or for yourself in your sports leisures. But buying new is awfully expensive. Why not go somewhere with new and used options? Play It Again Sports has quality, slightly to gently used equipment, and 50% of their inventory is actually new equipment. And it's more than baseball, softball, and golf. They also have equipment for disc golf, fitness, hockey, and more. Plus, they're always buying products. Bring your gear you're done with and get trade money on the spot. Play It Again Sports at 48th and Vine. The 2026 Love Nebraska season is underway, and professional volleyball is back in a big way. From powerful serves to game-changing rallies, every match brings elite competition to the court. See some of the game's top athletes, including Lexi Rodriguez and Jordan Larson, compete right here in Nebraska. Whether you're a longtime fan or new to the sport, there's a match for you this season. Explore the full schedule and plan your night out at lovneb.com/schedule.
Mike, the insurance company wants us to replace the roof.
Wait, what? I thought everything was fine.
Yeah, it says right here our roof is too old and they won't be able to cover us anymore.
I guess it is 15 years old. Hi, I'm Austin with Roofing Service Company. We help homeowners with their roofing and siding projects. Financing options are available, and we can get you under a new roof no time at all. If this sounds like you, visit roofingservicecompany.com. That is roofingservicecompany.com.
Back to the Ticket Weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome back in. We'll get one more from the Starter Heyman text line. We can get a few more if you guys put more in here. Again, I wrapped up on Husker football. I'm not trying to poo-poo on Husker football. We all want this place to be good. Lincoln wants Husker football to be good because it brings in money. It brings in the economy. The hotels get filled up. The restaurants get full. The bars make a ton of money. You know, the AutoZone makes money because someone's battery dies on the way out of town, and they got to go all the way back to, Champaign, Illinois. Whatever the case may be, we all want it to be good. No one talks negative because I think they want it to be a bad season. I think we're all very hopeful that these guys can figure it out. I'm never rooting for coaches to be fired unless, I find out the coach just isn't a very good person and I don't really like him leading a group of young men. But nonetheless, let's get to this one from Kent. Says, again, talking Husker football here. Coach Osborne used to always say when it came to losing some games, that's not always the loss, but how you do it. If you lose by turnover or something at the end of the game, that's one thing. But when you get blown out like we did 3 games in a row at Old Nebraska fan like me, an old Nebraska fan like me, it's very concerning. Yeah, it is very concerning. Again, that's the part where I had a lot of my conversations just kind of around that issue. Was the way the season finished is kind of what's unfortunately, I'm not going to call it apathy because I did see, Husker football schedule got announced and people were kind of like fired up already. I think people are always going to come back. The question is how anxiously are they going to come back? Are they going to come back to the point where there's massive lines just to sign some of the players' autographs on the spring game, which shout out to those guys. They're at least bringing the original spring game back. But I don't even like saying the guys out there weren't competing. It just kind of felt like, once again, maybe unsure of the direction or how far away we really were, underestimated. Is that an effort thing? Hard to tell. Again, like I don't see the guys out there ever wanting to lose. And when you hear a guy like Kurt Signetti, it's, we practice for 1 minute and 45 and no more, no less. Like I don't need my guys to go out there and be the hardest working, the longest working. I'm out here at midnight while you're sleeping in. That's why my guys are tougher. And that's why I went undefeated. No, he's very clear on that. Like he does 1 minute 45, tells the coaches the same thing. Like, listen, when your work's done, you're good to go. So To me, I didn't see like the guys didn't care. I did see maybe just confusion, and part of it, that defense in particular, especially on that front, they're younger. So sometimes it's not effort. It's just you're not good enough yet. Not because you don't care to be, but you don't have the experience. You don't have the reps. And some of these guys are 23 years old now, and you're only 18. Give it some time. So that's why I'm not going to just say these guys didn't care. But I think you got to have some sort of belief in the direction that you're going, some momentum that the guys can lean into to trust that this thing's going to work out. And of course, when you reset on a bunch of coaches, it kind of puts everyone in a little bit of bewilderment and trying to figure out where is this ship going to necessarily land. One more from James Lincoln. Nebraska has to be physical, relentless, and fast. When was the last time we saw a Husker football team play with absolute reckless abandonment? It's been too long. Win or lose, that needs to be true. Yeah, I mean, the one thing you saw with Indiana, right? Those guys, even if they make the wrong decision or they read it wrong, they're going in there with bad intentions. Not to do anything dirty, but to try to finish a play. And that, I think a lot of that has to be a culture thing. And it's tough to build a culture when you're losing, especially losing in really big ways. So you got to find ways to get momentum. Again, that's why I pointed out that USC game. I thought that was a good chance, like get some belief into this program that the work that you're putting in is worth it because we're getting the results that we wanted. When you're putting in a lot of work and you're getting tough results or kind of iffy results, it kind of wavers a little bit. At least that's what my experience in the high school locker room. Maybe it changes at Division I, but if you can go get $1 million if you transfer because you're not really digging this system anymore, or even just six figures, like, come on, the door's open, and these adults are going to give it to you. Jay Foreman's quote's absolutely right. Like, if they're dumb enough to give it to you, take it. And so that's where you really got to be tough in today's era to combat that stuff. Don't let your culture fall apart. And it's not always fair, but sometimes some humiliating losses can be all it takes to really rattle your program. Again, they almost fired Ryan Day because he couldn't beat Michigan. Obviously, that would have been stupid. Well, I shouldn't say they almost fired. The fans wanted to fire Ryan Day. But obviously the AD was smarter than that, and they got a national championship as a result. Appreciate you guys listening. That's kind of my little rant on Husker Hoops. Shout out Tristan Gomez for hanging around with me for an extra segment. And then, of course, everybody else for tuning in, getting some Husker football schedule talk in. As it's official, at least the dates, who's at home, who's on the road. Don't go anywhere, though. We got a couple of Husker bowlers up next. Spare time, Jillian Martin, Kayla Starr. They will talk to you. 93.7 The Ticket.
Don't wait. The clock is ticking at Landmark Implement's annual inventory reduction sale. For a limited time, get special financing as low as 1.9% for 12 months, then 6.2% interest for 48 months on select equipment. No auction, no waiting, just inventory price to move. Once it's gone, it's gone. Visit Landmark Implement or shop online at landmarkimp.com. Then click on the feature